Yo, what's up, family? This is D Reed with the Let's Go Show. I have a legend. I have a financial entrepreneur. I have Mr. Charles Tank Williams. What's up, Tank?
What's going on, brother Doug? It's always an honor and a privilege to be in your presence. I look at you as a big brother. So I thank you for taking the time to even think to invite me and then the action to go ahead and invite me. So I appreciate
Yeah, let's get that right. It's Charles Tank Harris.
you.
So I mean, because we got a lot of history, so we'll jump right into it. But you tell me about this young guy, um, who we call Tank.
Ooh, the shorter answer would be to start like with professional Tank, but I think I got to give some insight as to how professional Tank even came to be. I am the product of a single mom who raised three boys on her own, and she hates that I bring this up because she still harbors embarrassment about how young she was when she had her children. I tell my mom I think she is a Pegasus. If anybody knows those mystical beasts, the horses with wings, they're that rare. She's like a Pegasus bred with a unicorn. That's how rare my mom's is. She had my older brother before she turned 15, and then me before she turned 17, and my younger brother before she turned 19. So three boys, Philadelphia, single mom, three boys, 19 years old. And then my little sister came along when I was 13. So it was a big gap between the boys and the girl. But she has, I want to say, 5 college degrees between her 4 kids and a number of college degrees from her grandkids. My mom, she was the set off. She sparked the whole situation. And growing up, trying to be a man at a very early age because there was not a man for my mom to have the assistance of. So I tried to fall into that role and help where I could. It was both very empowering and very debilitating at the same time. The empowering part was, when you're trying to help out around the house and be a man at an early age. I was working at 13 and bringing my mom money. That felt real good. The debilitating part, and some of these things still I'm harboring to this day, I've always felt kind of in the way, and I've always felt as if I'm a burden. When I watched my mom struggle, my immediate internalization of that was, oh, she's trying to provide for all of us. I'm one of all of us. If I wasn't here, she'd have it easier. So I've carried that along throughout my childhood into my adulthood of just wanting to be kind of in the corner, out the way. I don't want to cause anybody any trouble. So when I was young, without having the guidance of male, structure, and also my mom could have been both all the structure that I needed, but she had to work and take care of us. I was left to do a lot of stuff on my own, and it manifests itself in some negative ways. I was expelled from many schools. I always tell people it took me 13 schools to do my 12th grades, and people are freaked out by that. And then I went to 4 colleges too, so it didn't stop even after I got my act together.
Let me ask you this,
Mhm.
because I mean, you said a lot of things, very powerful, and I don't want to lose sight. And big shout out to your mother and the great job that she did.
Thank you, sir.
Um, but once again, you said a single family home. Did you have any role models, let's say within the community, male figures that you looked up to?
I did, which is what always motivates me to try to be that for someone else now. There was a funeral home on the corner of one of the blocks that I spent the majority of my childhood on. I grew up from, I want to say, age 6 to age 13 in West Philly on Peach Street between 53rd and 54th, 200 block of North Peach between Vine and Race. There was a big funeral home on the corner of 53rd and Vine called Kimball Funeral Home. Older gentleman, Ivan Kimball, had 3 sons. One of his sons, Ivan, his namesake, who now runs Kimball Funeral Home, he moved it all the way up to 63rd and Overbrook. But he was a role model of mine. I used to watch Ivan walk his Rottweiler, Cuddy, up and down the street. and he would stop and chat with me and just tell me to keep myself going in the right direction. I was a big kid. I played football on the street. He would tell me that football would take me far, and it did. I also had the benefit, had a childhood girlfriend, Angel, still friends of mine to this day. A friend of mine to this day, very close friend of mine. Angel's dad and uncle were two brothers from West Philly that made it out of West Philly to go on to Harvard and the University of Chicago, respectively. Yeah, so when I was dating Angel, they weren't about the nonsense. They wanted to meet me. They wanted to know what I was about. And once they realized their daughter liked me a great deal and I wasn't going anywhere, they also served as mentors of mine. And actually, they're both passed away now. But Uncle Stephen, Angel's uncle, I call him Uncle Steve. Uncle Stephen was in 9/11 when the buildings were hit. He was in finance. And I like to tell everybody that one of the reasons that I went into finance was modeling after what I learned from Uncle Stephen as my mentor.
Now, so how important do you think that is? Because see, now we don't see the role model. I mean, you mentioned football, but you don't actually see the role model with the football or the basketball or the sports. You see a role model, basically a man carrying out his business as an entrepreneur. Then you seeing young Black men take their education to another level. And I'm pretty sure these, as you talked about your girlfriend's brothers, that they had really no idea that they were really probably that role model. And and I say that because I think about indirect influence sometimes. And of course, social media can be that easily. We can also be influenced the wrong way.
Exactly.
But you actually took that, looking at these gentlemen and being a young man, able to tie that in and say, look, these are some things that I can do, or these are men that emulate something, a vision that I see for myself.
Yes.
And you take that forward. What are some of the other things that you did?
I think one of the reasons why their mentorship stuck was because the success that I saw that they were having. Once again, these weren't slouches. This is a small business owner, son, Ivan Kimball, saw them in Benz's. He had a Rolex. This is Angel's dad, went to Harvard. He was one of the first Black people in high tech. He worked at a company called DEC, Digital Electronic Company, and he was high up at DEC. He also worked at Dell. Then Uncle Stephen, being in finance and having gone to University of Chicago, top mathematic university in the country, one of the top. They made so much money. In fact, the first conversation that I had with Uncle Stephen and Richard, who is Angel's dad, together was at Uncle Stephen's house in Pipersville, PA. It's at the top of the Delaware River, where Pennsylvania becomes New Jersey. Big home overlooking Delaware River. I was like, yo, I'm from the hood. Look at what this cat has. And I saw it as possible. So I was there for all of it. Like, I was like, what do I have to do to live like this? And it was all education with them. I told them I was a football player. I thought I was the man back then. They were actually catching me my senior year, my best year of football. Here I am, 6'4", 280, could run, great hands, playing tight end. Colleges were talking to me. Every time I brought up the word football, they shut it down and was like, what's up with your mind? What are you good at? And, once Angel told them I was good at mathematics, it was a wrap. They didn't want to hear about football ever again. And I pursued football. It got me into college. It really was a launch pad to the success that I've had from a social networking standpoint. But them focusing on my academics and what would last far past my athletic prowess was something that always stuck with me. I always loved football. It was something I was naturally good at, but they made it cool for me to be smart, because I was smart my whole childhood. I got skipped. I did a bunch of stuff, but it was never cool to be smart. I used to go to this program. They used to send us by train from Philly to New York for this program called Mensa for people with high IQs. And we went up there once a quarter, I think it was, or once a month, played puzzles and did all these programs and were studied. And when you came back, people clowned you for missing the day of school. You went to that smarty yard and stuff, and you stupid when you're young, even when you're smart. You're like, oh, I can't be ridiculed for that. I'm done being smart. but they made it cool to be smart. I was like, oh, wait, this is what being smart gets you? I'm gonna get this bread. I'm gonna be able to take care of my family one day. My kids will never struggle how I struggle with my mom. I can take care of my mom. Like, it just all came full circle watching them. And that's what mentorship can do, which is why I'm so committed to making sure that I provide good mentorship for the kids that I come in contact with.
Wow. And then I think your football, as far as your talent and your skills ability, took you to Temple, right?
It did. I first started at a Division II college that my high school coach, assistant coach, had graduated from, Kutztown University in Pennsylvania. Because I got to high school and I wasn't taking school seriously, so my grades were suspect. So I couldn't go right away to a bigger university, a Division I university. Went to Kutztown, played ball there for a couple of years, and then transferred to Temple. And the rest, as they say, is history. Temple is it's Temple TU, baby. Like, that's my spot. Temple loves me. I love Temple. My whole entire professional career was built upon the network of people that I've met at Temple, and continues to be that way. Shout out to TU. I love Temple.
Yeah, TU, my boy Saul Singleton, another
Yes, yes.
another alumni and football player,
My guy.
TU. Uh, but okay, so your football career, but then I think there was an injury.
Yes. So, the funny thing is, I always try to, I don't lie. I let people come to their own conclusion about my injury being football related. I didn't hurt myself playing football. I was playing intramural basketball. We had the football team was broken up into, by position, intramural basketball teams. There was the wide receivers and the defensive backs and the running backs, and there was the O-line versus the D-line. And that was one of the big games. And I was the D lineman, and at the time I was in shape, far cry from how I am in my gray state today. And I could dunk a basketball. I was 6'4", 300 pounds. I could dunk. And I stole a pass, was taken off down court. Now, because I'm a football player, I wasn't as swift with my natural gait dribbling a basketball as I could just running freely. So trying to concentrate on the ball while I'm running full speed had me going a little slow, or this dude would have never caught me. But he catches up to me, and we all football fans, so he wasn't trying to hurt me. But he did what you do when you're trying to break somebody's stride. He just ran and crossed in front of me, hoping it would mess me up going up. And it did. When he ran in front of me, he was still standing on my left foot when I left the ground to go dunk the basketball. And I was 300, he might have been 320. And everything went up in the air but my left lower part of my leg, and it snapped, kneecap shot out. My kneecap was up behind the back of my hamstring. It just literally shot out and went around my leg. You couldn't find it for a minute. And that was the end of sports for me. And the crazy thing was, I realized I didn't love sports as much as I thought I did at that moment, because I went into the doctors. I passed out when I saw my knee. First of all, I was cool at first. Everybody was gathered around my leg and I was laying on my back. I knew I was in pain, but I didn't know what was going on. And they were like, don't look, Tank, don't look. And I said, let me see. And I saw like this clump of meat where my kneecap should have been, holding your skin out. So the kneecap was gone. So the meat was just blunt. I woke up in the hospital. Like, literally saw that and woke up in the hospital. It made me pass out.
Right.
I'm not ashamed to say. But when I woke up, I was begging them to just make it so I could walk again. And the doctor's like, it's not that deep, son. You'll be playing ball. Like, no, I don't care about ever playing ball again. Just don't make me have to have a cane or a limp. So I realized right then that my dream of playing ball was short-lived, and I wanted to use my mind at that point. And I pivoted to that right away. I changed my major from accounting to actuarial science, which is the mathematics of insurance. I started focusing on finance. I started tutoring other people in the athletic department, which is what really, you never know what God's preparing you for. That's what really was the catalyst for the success I've had as a financial services professional. Is we had some really good players at Temple in football and basketball when I was there as a tutor. These guys all knew me as the smartest person they'd ever met. I was the stat tutor. I was all business courses and all maths I tutored. I was the only tutor that wasn't Asian or Indian. They understood me, no accent. Coach Cheney at the time, rest his soul, he loved me. And when these guys all went to the NFL, the NBA, and I called on them as a stockbroker from Smith Barney, they're like, yeah, Tank, we'll give you a check. Like, we want to invest with you. We know what you're doing. So it was pretty cool.
Wow. So now you made the connections and the relationship, not only with TU, but now you're building Actually, I'll say, for lack of better words, now you're starting to build your empire, because I know working in this financial field, you've kind of worked for everybody.
Yes.
Um, and out of all that, the ones that you work for, which one was the most challenging?
The most challenging was, I'd have to say, the first company that I started. So my first job in financial services was at a firm that at the time, and I always make sure I'm careful with my words to say at the time, because financial services firms change their names all the time. So it's not the same name today as it was when I was there 25 years ago. But Smith Barney. Smith Barney was my first firm. And I was there for a year and a half and did really well, and was recruited away from Smith Barney by Payne Weber. And Payne Weber became UBS Financial Services. Working there was a wake-up call. It's the only Black person at either firm. I was the youngest person at either firm, and I started making money for the first time. I remember when I took my job at Smith Barney, they had a salary program, because most of these financial services firms, you only get your commission what you make. They had a program where you got paid $30,000, so it was $2,500 a month for the first 9 months, $30,000 a year salary. Then in month 10, you started to lose 1/14 of your salary for the next 14 months and increase in your commission, so that it turned you into a full commissioned employee by the time you completed your second year at Smith Barney. And my job before I worked at Smith Barney was working at Ford Motor Credit Company. They gave me my first job out of college. Shout out to Dave Migliozzi for hiring a young brother. And I was making $28,900 a year. And we were collecting people's card notes. So I had to work Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday morning. So I had a little overtime. With overtime, I made $30,700 at Ford Credit. And yeah, it was 27 years ago. So it wasn't horrible money, but it wasn't good money. I had a kid already, and my soon-to-be wife at that situation was pregnant. So I had responsibilities. And when I switched to becoming a stockbroker, I got hired in November of 97, got my license to trade in March of 98. In August of 98, I did $41,000 in commission in August of 1998. After they took the taxes and the 401k and everything else, I had $31,300. And, I hate to use an analogy like this, but it was like giving a dope fiend his first hit of heroin. I was hooked. After I saw that in 1 month, I could make what I made in a whole year prior to taxes. I made it after taxes, rap. And I just became very centered on building that practice, building the ability to bring in the type of clientele that can continue to produce. Because the one thing that I'm a firm believer in, you can make money doing a lot of different things, and you can make good money doing a lot of different things. But to sustain making money, you have to be doing the right things by people. And I felt as though if I focused my career around doing the right things by people consistently, delivering an experience that they couldn't live without, so to speak, becoming irreplaceable, then I would make all the money I wanted to make. And that has really held up.
Yeah, you know what, and you bring up a great point, and that's just, I'll say that's contribute to your character, for the simple fact that you do believe in people, you speak life into people,
I appreciate that.
whether it's with words or whether it's written. Let's not forget that. And I think we actually first met. I think was it at Living Faith where we first met.
Yep. Living Faith Christian Center. Yes.
And so even as a segue, even as we talk about that, doing right by people, how important was your faith during this process?
What's really interesting, and I share this with everyone, I did not believe in God. I didn't believe there was a God up until I was working in the financial services companies. And it was a mutual parishioner and friend of ours, Trey Thomas, who was a client of mine at the time. His wife gave me a book, The Case for Faith. by the Christian investigative reporter Lee Strobel. And she said, Tank, people come to the Lord through inspiration or perspiration. I hope that it's not the latter for you, but you need to read this book. I have faith in you. You need to read this book and you need to understand why God is important for your life, because I can't have a person who doesn't have the faith in the Lord that I have managing my family's money. So whether there was a God or not, I already told you I'm about to get this bread. I was going to do what she said, but it was through that nudge and reading that book that my life turned around as it pertained to faith. Because, and I do firmly believe that God is so, the layman's term is God works in mysterious ways. And yes, there's truth to that. But for me, it's God is so omnipotent and knowledgeable, and he made us all. He knows what each of us needs to get when we need to get it. And for me, I questioned why. I always thought my mom was a good person. Always thought I was a good person. Why did we struggle like we did? Why did the people in my neighborhood struggle? Why was the likelihood for every Black man to be dead or in jail a reality? What God would allow this to occur? So I was one of those people who said, if there was a God, why does God let bad things happen to good people? And this book was so well laid out that what the book, still on my bookshelf to this day, what Lee Strobel said is, he said, I'm going to prove that there's a God. I'm going to prove why faith is needed by everybody by debunking the 7 biggest myths that everybody who talks crap on God brings up. And myth number 2 was, if there was a God, bad things wouldn't happen to good people. I was like, well, I'm all in. I read this part. And he told a story that was so wild. And I recount it probably not exactly accurately as it happened, but I've told this story 100 times. He said that, can you accept that you're not the smartest person on the planet? And I said, I can accept that. And I think I'm a really smart guy. I try to be humble, but I'm not. I know I'm right. You are. I know I'm right. And I was like, but I can still accept that I'm not the smartest cat in the world. Like, who would be that cocky? Like, I know I'm not the smartest cat in the world. And it's okay, if you can accept that you're not the smartest person in the world, could you accept that everything that's in the world, no person was smart enough individually to create? I said, see where I'm going with this. You're going to try to sell me on God this way? Okay, I'll bite. Yeah, that makes sense. No one person could have made all of this. Okay, cool. So we continue down the list. He says, God is so intelligent and has so much in his brain that if you try to take it into your brain would explode. I was like, okay, let me see where this is going. And he tells this story. He says, there's a plague that's affecting the black bears that roam North America, black bears in the mountains, things of that nature. And the veterinarian community has found out about the plague, and they've created an antidote to protect the bears. Unfortunately, the only way it'll work is it's like a Vaseline type of salve that needs to be rubbed on the bear's gums. It's the only way to get it deep enough into their bodies to absorb it, to make them immune. Now, as you made that face, it's because you're thinking, how the hell do you get a bear to smile for you while you rub Vaseline on his gums?
Exactly.
You can't. So the veterinarians came up with a plan. We will set bear traps throughout the entire domain of the black bears, and we'll snatch them in the bear trap, which you can only imagine hurts like hell to have a bear trap, jump on you. He said, and then once that keeps them still, we're going to have somebody with a rifle shoot a tranquilizer dart in their butt. But, bears are thick. Even the tranquilizer dart, you don't want to still run up and open a bear's mouth when they're just tranquilized. So you have to stab them with a deeper sedative that will really knock them all the way out. Now, once you stab them with that sedative, they're out, you can go ahead and rub the stuff on their gums.
Wow.
Put yourself in the bear's situation. You walking through the woods, everything is fine. Snap, your arm is darn near broken. Next thing you know, your butt hurt because somebody just shot you in the butt. You look back, you got a dart in your butt, your arm is hurt. You're like, to make a play on God, like, what have I done to be forsaken? And while you're starting to get drowsy because you got the dart in your butt, you see some maniac running at you with a knife. And the next thing you do is you wake up, Your arm is bandaged. You got a tag that's annoying that's hanging from your ear. And other than that, you have no idea what happened. But what happened was, while you were stabbed with the sedative, they rubbed the swab on your gums and they marked your ear so that they let the other future veterinarians know this one's already protected, so we can go to the next one.
Right.
And they said that's what it's like being a human on Earth. We go through some real tragedies ourselves, and we watch others go through tragedies. But what if it was all part of a better plan to save us? I get emotional as I tell the story. You don't realize, because your brain couldn't hold God's plan. So you don't realize why the 2-year-old up the street was caught in crossfire. You don't realize why the old lady who did nothing but be nice to everybody on the block, her house burned down and trapped her in it. You don't know. So you want to be human and address this. And human says, good things shouldn't happen to bad people. This is all a mess.
Right.
But we don't know if it's a mess because we don't know God's bigger plan. And we have to have faith that he has such a plan, and we are not capable of comprehending it. And reading that one section of that book, I actually don't think I finished the book. I think I read that, the book did its job, and I gave my life to God after.
Say you were done.
It was wrapped.
And it's I actually had those questions not too long ago with the recent passing of Terrence Boyd out of the family church. We'll even talk about that. And we were real close, and same age, and talking to him every day. And actually, literally today, I have the program, and I actually look at the program, and I said, "Wow, T, you're not here." But then the other thought was, God had other plans, just as you stated, and we have a commonality because Pastor Ted was very influential in our lives, and he started the family church, in which we both attended. And then even as I go back and I reflect back on your football career, and I reflect back on your injury, because even as an athlete, we talk about mental toughness.
Yes.
You got to have that mental toughness. But how we met, and I'll just say it like this, I'll get an intro to it, because you came to me and told me about an organization. And you said, "Yo, Brother Doug, I think you would be, good serving in that organization." And, I'll let you take it from there and tell what the organization was, but I want you to kind of elaborate on the mental toughness and the mental health.
I love it. So the organization, of course, is my dear friend Tasneem Suleiman started an organization to help brothers fight through the stigma surrounding seeking help with your mental health. And she created a platform called Black Men Heal, which was, the basic premise was, let's get Black men free therapy sessions, preferably with other therapists of color. And we're going to knock out these 3 hurdles: cost, access, stigma. We're going to bring you people who are like you, who understand you. We're going to make it free, no cost. And we're going to make it cool. Like, we want you to tell your friends, like, what experience you had here. And I was one of her early board members, helping to raise capital. We went on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God.
Yeah, let's not forget that either.
Yeah, we did a lot of great things together. But my business was taking off. I started my own personal financial services firm, the second iteration of it, not working with athletes, but working for myself, Wealth Our Way. And I said, I can't, I like to be committed to what I say I'm going to do. I couldn't give the time to Black Men Heal that I knew it needed. And, they say, one of my favorite sayings is, don't bring me a problem unless you bring me the accompanying solution. So my goal was to replace myself at Black Men Heal. I had no idea I was going to do such an amazing job of replacing myself by finding you. I was like a 3 to your tenure. That organization blossomed so much over throughout your tenure and involvement there. You did a better job than I could have ever dreamt to do. And that's the amazing thing, when your intentions are pure and your motivation is solely to help. I just wanted to help Black Men Heal. And I didn't do it in a way where I was just trying to pass the buck. I had a lot of people I could have suggested for the position. And you knew nothing. There was no reason through our conversations for me to, the one thing that connected me and made me think you'd be great for the the position was your work in the prisons and
Mhm.
helping young brothers get back on track when they come out. I saw the connection between rebuilding lives post-prison and also dealing with mental health issues. Other than that, I had no idea how great you'd be at this. I just knew I looked up to you and I called you big bro at church because I look up to you. And there was something calming to me about your demeanor and spirit. And I thought Tasneem and you would get along well. And it was funny, and I clown her about this whenever I get a chance to talk to her. She and I are both really busy and don't speak as often as I would like.
Yeah.
She put you on the back burner for like 6 months from my suggestion. She didn't know you, of course, then. But I was like, hey, you got to talk to my man, Doug. You got to talk to my man, Doug. And she was, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Finally, out of going back to Trey Thomas's wife, Shaday's statement, perspiration or inspiration, she got back into a corner where she needed help. So she would have took anybody. And she's like, let me reach out to this dude you've been telling me to reach out to. And she has thanked me so many times in just random, like, wake up texts, like, oh my God, Doug was a miracle. Like, I was tripping, not looking into this sooner. So, bro, I appreciate you. You made me look good. Like, you did a better job than I did and took the organization to new heights. Black Men Heal's mission, getting mental health addressable. Going back to what I said, starting off with me as a child, I still harbor these feelings of worthlessness and inadequacy. I've led companies, I've raised kids, I've helped and mentored people, and I still think I ain't no good. Like, it's crazy what your mind can do to you. And anything that can help anybody, but of course, the soft spot in my heart is from my own demographic, Black men, find a way through all of this, because it's all noise. And to find a way through the noise, whether it's through serenity of prayer or having a calm mind, being able to meditate, being able to control your thoughts, it's invaluable. And the organization holds a special place in my heart still. Whether I have time to donate time, I still donate financially when called upon. There's no better cause, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I truly agree. During my tenure there, but you said something earlier when we were talking, because you said you just wanted to help people and you wanted to be genuine with people. You wanted to for them to understand that you were authentic, and that's what happened with me. I was just being genuine. I was just being authentic. I was just being vulnerable. Even after I went through the 8 free sessions. And it blessed my life. And I'm like, oh, wow. Now, if it's blessed me, I'm an inspired motivator. I'm like, yo, I got to tell everybody, like, look, you need to try this therapy, because it truly will change your outlook, as you say, on life. It'll change your perspective on how you deal with you. And I'm on social media a lot now. Like, you have to learn how to thank yourself.
Yes.
You have to learn how to support you. And that actually done it. And it actually blessed me in my life. And the organization is still doing well. And I'm like you, I still support them all the means that I can. But then I wanted to touch in a space that you were in, like this entrepreneurship, because as you say me, I'll just call it for what it is. You say, I'm the big brother. So you're the little brother that I look up to. And I'm like, yo, Tank is doing it. I know that, with the Black Men Heal, I know your organizations or your business, the second phase of it, and tell us about that. Tell us about that phase, as far as the first phase and exactly where you are now.
When I left Smith Barney to go to Payne Weber, it was the same thing, different shingle. I didn't start to experience entrepreneurship until I started my own company in 2001, which was called Athletic Business Management. And I served as a financial bodyguard, so to speak, for professional athletes. Anybody that you were going to deal with on money. You buy a car, you come see me, we go to the car dealership. You're getting a mortgage, set me at the closing table. You're going to see an accountant about your taxes, take me with you. I knew enough about every area of finance to be able to serve as a buffer between my client and the professionals they were. I eventually moved to partner with a gentleman who was doing the same thing in music, my man Sean G. Shout out to Sean G, at the head of urban music at Live Nation. He was running G Financial Group in Philadelphia, and we merged and formed the Sports and Entertainment Financial Group. Did that through 2012, 2013. I moved the sports office to Atlanta in '08. We were growing, we were prospering, but I realized I didn't really like working with athletes. It was an epiphany that I had. I realized that I got into the space of working with athletes because all my boys were athletes. I enjoyed working with my homies. I enjoyed working with the cats I went to, Aaron McKee, the Eddie Jones, the Rick Brunson, the Mark Jackson, the Trey Thomas, Trey Johnson, Lance Johnstone, Alshon Singleton, the list goes on. These are all my homies, and I enjoyed working with and for them. When they started to age out of sports and I had to start rapping to this new breed young cats, I didn't care for them too much, and it made the job not as thankful. And I like helping. I didn't feel as though I was helping anymore. So I sold my portion of the business, went back to work at a retail investment firm, New York Life Insurance Company, in their investment division, Eagle Strategies. And I did that for a few years. It opened my eyes to the benefits of insurance. I learned a lot about insurance while I was there, but it also opened my eyes to the fact for the first time in my career, I was able to provide financial services to someone who wasn't rich. At Smith, Barney, and Payne Weber, you had to have 6 figures of investable assets to get my help. When I was working with the athletes, you had to be a pro athlete to get my help. 7-figure contracts, things of that nature. I decided, now that I was at New York Life and could work with people who put $50 a month away for an IRA or something, that I could do the same thing I did at Athletic Business Management for people I like to call mom and pop America. Just regular folks, doctor, C-suite exec, entrepreneur, school teacher, didn't matter how much money you made, I could give you the same level of financial advice as if you had $1 million investment portfolio. So I started a company called Wealth Our Way, started in February of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. And I provide subscription-based financial planning for anybody. And it's priced upon how much attention and need you have. And I don't handle anybody's money. I put them at institutions like Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, where they do no load investing, but I oversee building the portfolio, understanding what their risk tolerance is, helping them create budgets. And yeah, I've been doing that for a while.
Yeah. So tell me, where did the name of the company Wealth Our Way come from?
I kept thinking about how underserved communities like the one I grew up in, no one's looking out for us, and that's the theme, especially African-American, but there are non-African-American communities that are below the poverty line as well. And unless a company or a person can profit off of you, they normally don't have the time and inclination to do right by you. I've seen that firsthand. So I wanted to show people that there's a lot of ways to achieve wealth, but I'm going to show you how we can achieve wealth our way. It's not wealth my way. It's not wealth your way. If you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't be talking to me. It's going to be wealth our way. I'm going to show you through my knowledge and your need how we can get to the path of wealth. And wealth means different things for different people. There's an old Yiddish parable that says, a man is as healthy, a man, what does it say? I lose my train of thought. Oh, a man is as wealthy once he is content with his own lot, which basically means you can have $5, and if you're happy with $5, you're wealthy. And you can have $5 million, but if your goal for happiness is 10 million, you'll be miserable with 5 million. A wealthy man is he who is happy with his lot. So I'm going to identify what your lot is and help you get that. And that's going to be how we build wealth our way.
Wow. All right. So everything is going well. Wealth Our Way is actually progressing probably beyond your dreams. But what would be, looking into the future, what would be the ideal position that you, as an entrepreneur, family, business, what does the future hold, and how do you see it? I mean, I know I see one thing, and I think I reserved my spot on the yacht. I think I got me a spot on the yacht.
Coming on the boat, baby. Coming on the boat.
I think I got me a spot. But besides the yacht, what else would it be?
When I first had my oldest child, Bria, shout out to Bria, she's amazing. You've met
Bria. She is.
Temple Law Review. I can't sing her praises enough. I fell in love for what I consider to be the first time. The level of responsibility that I felt seeing that little girl, and then knowing that she was my responsibility and that she would love me. Just the look in her eyes when she was a newborn let me know this girl's going to love me forever.
Yeah.
I have had 5 kids subsequently, love them all as well. Shelby, Kennedy, Zoe, Sydney, Trey. And the future is building a life for them that allows them to explore everything about life that they would want. And that has changed so much. It was like, I'm gonna make all this money and give them this. Nope, not the way it needs to be. I'm gonna make sure there's like a safety net of money and a helping hand of money, but they have to experience their own things, blaze their own trails, make their own paths, struggle their own struggles to appreciate life. And now that's where my commitment lies. My commitment lies, I always have a saying that your dreams end where your child's begins. And I've had my chance, and I still have a very good life. I'm a happy person with great relationships, including this one. But my job is to make these kids' dreams become reality, shape and aid. I don't always agree, but it's to shape and to aid, to be here when they need direction, need an ear, need $5, like whatever that calls for at that day. But that's what the future holds for me.
Nice.
Building a life that my kids will be able to take from me like a relay race. When I hand the baton, they're off and running.
Wow. Well, I mean, you continually, you know how I talk about you as continually dropping gems, and your knowledge is, it's infinite. But before we go, I get this thing called a Let's Go Challenge. But let our audience know how to actually, find you, whether social media, website. Please tell us that.
So our website is Wealth Our Way. That's ours, O-U-R, wealthourway.com. We have a website. On Instagram, Wealth Our Way. But we really could use some followers and subscribers to our YouTube page with this Wealth Our Way network, where you'll find our 2 informational programs, 15 Minutes of Finance and the Financial Power Hour. Wealth Our Way network. Wealth
Our Way. So we're gonna jump right into because I know we got a hard stop. So I want to do this, and it's all on you as far as your words. I'll say one word, you come back with 1 or 2. It's called a Let's Go Challenge. So we'll start real simple. Philly.
Oh, Philly is the Philadelphia. It's the Mecca. It's where everything begins and ends. I've traveled the world. I was a bodyguard for the musical group Boys to Men. I've had some money and got a chance to go across the pond a couple of times. Been to countless islands. Philly is home.
Atlanta.
The A, baby. You gotta spread your horizons. They say when you come down here, there's Georgia and there's Atlanta. Atlanta is that spot. It's upwardly mobile. It's the first time I got to see success personified in a large scale amongst people who were my shade of color. Love Atlanta for that.
All right. This one might be a trick. Stamps.
Ooh, I think stamps. I think them food stamps, baby. These people with these EBT cards don't know nothing about the back in the day when you had to rip the stamp out the book. When I went to Temple and I used to buy people's food stamps from them to go shopping at what I call Poverty Plaza. It's Progress Plaza. And now it's not even that anymore, but on Broad Street. Stamps bring food stamps to mind, but the evolution of Tank went from food stamps to passport stamps. So now I get stamps in my passport as I travel the globe, and praise God for that.
Yes, sir. Fatherhood.
Challenging. The only thing that really rewards you for the level of effort that you put in, even if you can't see the reward as you put the effort in, it shapes you and changes you as a man. Like fatherhood is God's gift to men.
Wow. Restoration.
That's Pastor Ted word right there. Don't teach me how to be better. Restore me to what I was supposed to be. That Pastor Ted talks about that all the time. Restoration is hope. Restoration is that there's an identity inside of myself that I'm not even familiar with, but that through constant challenging of myself, constant openness to take in things that I may not think that are important or come from a chain of thinking that I would normally have, that I can become what I was always meant to be.
Original intent.
Original intent. I love it.
Lived experiences.
Man, I've had a lot. Lived experiences. And we just had this conversation, me and some people the other day, about whether it's better to go through troubles or to hear about other people's troubles. I have to say this. There's nothing, I don't live in regrets. There's nothing in my life that I've experienced, and I've had some troublesome experiences, that I would want to erase from my docket. Lived experiences has made the man that's talking to you today, and I'm cool with this cat. I like him.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's been the Let's Go show with my man, Charles St. Harris. And you know what I say? Let's go, baby.
Let's
Peace.
go.
We are.